My son said we're not celebrating Christmas with you this year. That's the line that broke me, clean in half, like an old twig that had been stepped on one too many times. I still hear it sometimes, especially in the quiet hours of dawn when the world has not yet decided what mood it wants to wake up in. Those words, sharp as a frostbitten wind, came from my own child. My flesh, my blood. The boy I raised with calloused hands and an earnest heart. I'm 76 now, older than I look maybe, or exactly as old as my regrets make me. My name is John, and this is the story of how I got my revenge. Not the malicious kind, no, but the kind that hits harder because it's clean, calculated, and entirely deserved. It all began 3 weeks before Christmas, the time of year when every commercial tells you to be jolly, families pretend they don't argue, and lonely souls like me cling to memories like lifelines. I was sitting in my recliner, the same one I kept for nearly 30 years, the one my late wife bought me during a Black Friday sale back when she still fussed over getting a good deal. That woman could bargain with angels if she wanted to. The phone rang. A video call. My son, David. I answered with a smile already stretching across my face like warm butter. Hey, boy. But David didn't smile. Not even a flicker. Dad, I need to tell you something, he said, and his tone already had the smell of trouble. We're not celebrating Christmas with you this year. My smile fell like a dead leaf. Why? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He sighed as though I was a burden head carried too long. It's just, things change. The kids want to stay home. And, well, we're trying new traditions. New traditions. New traditions meant I wasn't part of the old ones. New traditions meant I'd been phased out like a discontinued product. I swallowed the hard lump in my throat. I see. I knew you'd understand, he said quickly, eager to end the call, eager to hang up on the decades I'd poured into raising him. But I didn't understand. What I understood was disrespect. What I understood was abandonment. What I understood, after the call ended and my house returned to its usual silence, was that I had been nothing more than a holiday obligation, a pit stop between festivities, a senior relative they visited once a year for brownie points. I sat there staring at the blank TV screen, watching my reflection shrink inside the glass. I remembered every Christmas I'd spent working overtime so David could have presents. Every time I skipped meals so he wouldn't have to. Every time I told him he could do better, be better, live better. And now, he couldn't spare one day, one meal, one moment. But hey, Race, the thing about old men like me, we've lived too long, seen too much, lost enough to know exactly how to hit where it hurts without ever raising a fist. So I took a breath. Then I took action. My revenge began with a list. Yes, a handwritten one. At 76, handwriting still means something to me. On it, I wrote the names of every person I'd helped over the last 30 years. Neighbors, co-workers before I retired, old friends, church acquaintances, even strangers whose lives had crossed mine briefly. Dozens of names. Even the mailwoman who always told me I looked sharp today, even when I was wearing an old flannel. I circled 8 names. 8 people who had gone out of their way for me when they didn't have to. 8 people who remember my birthday, checked in on me, shoveled my driveway without payment, brought soup when I was sick. 8 people who weren't related by blood but acted like family anyway. Then I circled one more name. My lawyer. People think revenge is always fire and fury. But sometimes revenge is ice, cold, calm, unbothered. For the next week, I invited the 8 to my house. Not together. One by one. For coffee, for tea, for conversation. They were all surprised to hear from me, but they came. They sat at my small kitchen table. They laughed. They asked about my health. They asked about my plans for Christmas. And each time I smiled and said, "Oh, nothing much. Just making arrangements." I knew the next part would sting David more than any harsh words ever could. I changed my will. Every cent of my savings, every asset, every title, every investment went not to my son, but to those 8 people. People who actually cared. Who remembered. Who showed up. And before you think this was about money, no, it wasn't. It was about acknowledgement. It was about making sure the ones who loved me received something meaningful. It was about sending a message. Love is something you show, not something you claim. But the piece de resistance, the final twist of the knife, wasn't the will. No, it was the Christmas invitation. I mailed it to David. Physical envelope. A shimmering gold card that read, "Join me for Christmas dinner. It may be our last holiday together." When he received it, I knew he'd panic. Not because he cared. No, we were past that. But because guilt is a powerful motivator when you've been caught neglecting someone you're supposed to care about. And because the phrase, "our last holiday together," would rattle him. He'd think I was dying. He'd think he'd pushed me too far. He'd think something was terribly, terribly wrong. And for the first time in years, he'd be right, but not in the way he expected. The night before Christmas Eve, David showed up at my door, unannounced, frantic, pale as the snow falling behind him. He didn't knock, he banged, like the world was ending. When I opened, he rushed inside, the cold clinging to his jacket like desperation. "Dad, what's going on? What do you mean last holiday? Are you sick? Why didn't you tell me?" I looked at him steadily. "I'm not sick," I said. "Not yet, anyway." "But life's unpredictable." He frowned, confused. "Then why would you say something like that?" I walked past him toward the living room where the tree glowed warm and soft. Gifts were stacked beneath it, not many, but enough. The house smelled of cinnamon and baked apples. Cozy, peaceful. "I wanted you to come," I said simply. "Since you didn't want to." He winced. "Dad, it's not like that, isn't it?" I turned to face him. "You told me you weren't spending Christmas with me. You didn't ask how I felt. You didn't consider whether I'd be alone. You didn't think about anything except your new traditions." He shook his head. "Dad, the kids. Your children are learning from you," I said quietly. "And they're learning that family is optional." He froze. I could tell the words struck him hard, harder than he wanted to admit. But I wasn't done yet. "Sit," I said. He obeyed, sinking into the couch like a disciplined child. I took a folder from the bookshelf. Thick, sealed. My name printed neatly on the tab. I placed it on the coffee table between us. "What's that?" he asked. "My will." His mouth fell open. "You wrote me out?" He whispered. "No," I said. "You wrote yourself out." He tried to speak, but the words tangled in his throat. I continued, my voice calm and almost soft. "You made it clear I wasn't part of your life anymore. So I made sure my estate reflects the reality you created." He swallowed hard. "Dad, you can't just." I raised a hand. "I can." And I did. He stared at the folder like it might explode. Then I said the line that truly gutted him. "I invited 8 people to Christmas dinner. 8 people who've been more family to me than you have in years. My lawyer will be here too. Tonight." His eyes widened. You're reading the will tonight?" "Yes," I said. "While I'm alive. So I can say thank you to the ones who deserve it." He looked like he'd been punched. "Dad, come on. This is extreme." I shook my head. "No. Extreme is abandoning your father at Christmas." He stared at me, trembling, and for a moment I saw the boy he used to be. The one who hugged my leg when thunder scared him. The one who cried when his goldfish died. The one who said, "Dad, I'll always be there for you." But life had chipped away at him until all that was left was ambition, busyness, convenience. Still, I wasn't cruel. Just precise. "You can stay for dinner," I told him. "You're still my son." He exhaled shakily, relief flooding his eyes. "But you're not in the will," I finished. "Not anymore." His relief vanished. That night, 8 people gathered around my table. They brought laughter, warmth, pastries, gifts they couldn't afford but gave anyway. They hugged me, thanked me, cherished me. They filled my home with life. David sat stiffly in the corner, watching everything with a kind of hollow horror. Watching how these people, these strangers to him, embraced me like I was their own. When dessert was finished, I stood, tapped my glass, and cleared my throat. Before we end the night, I said, "I want to thank each of you for being family when mine forgot how." Everyone glanced toward David, who stared at the tablecloth. I continued. "I've always believed that love should be earned, not assumed. So I've made sure that when I'm gone, the people who stood by me will be taken care of." I opened the folder. "My lawyer will handle the specifics, but tonight, I want each of you to know that you mean something to me. Something real. Something lasting. Tears welled in more than one pair of eyes. Mine included. I didn't humiliate David. I didn't call him out. I didn't shame him. I simply gave others what he threw away. After the dinner, when everyone was gone, David walked up to me, eyes red. "Dad," he whispered, "I'm sorry." I nodded. "I know. I can change," he pleaded. "I will change." "I hope so," I said. "But change isn't a promise. It's a pattern." "Show me." He cried. A grown man. My son. And I held him, not because he deserved it in that moment, but because I am his father. But forgiveness is not the same as restoration. Over the next year, he did change, slowly, inconsistently, painfully. He visited more, called more, helped more. Not perfectly, but genuinely. I could see him trying. But the will. I didn't change it back. Some lessons must remain written. Some consequences must remain real. And erase the truth, revenge doesn't always end in destruction. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply giving people what they earned, whether that's love or loss. My name is John. I'm 76. And that was my story. And if you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my words. If my story meant something to you, if it made you feel, made you think, or kept you on the edge of your seat, then do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me what part of the story hit you the hardest. This is John, signing off.